Hello, and welcome back to the Coop de Villa channel. I'm Scott Cooper, and we are back to review Arsenal versus Aston Villa. It was another disappointing game, but we have a special guest. Simon from Villa on Tour will be here, and we'll be getting into all of that after this. Okay, so we traveled down to North London for Arsenal versus Villa at the Emirates, coming off 2 defeats and looking for some sort of bounce back, Steven Gerrard's side. But unfortunately, we were blown away again in that first half an hour. And Simon, as you're our special guest, how was the mood after the game with the away fans down there after another disappointing loss?
I think, as you said, I think disappointment. I think a lot of people were sort of praising the team of how they battled in the second half, and I think they did do that. I think we showed something in the second half. I think the first half was really poor. We showed something in the second half, and I think the fans were appreciative of that. And a lot of fans stayed over to clap the players off. No sign of the manager again to coming over to clap the fans. But I think supporters were happy we put up a little bit of a battle in the second half. It obviously wasn't good enough, and it was still the same old people questioning the tactics, questioning the system, and so it was a lot of the same old, if I'm being honest, and people scratching their heads up where we go moving forward.
Well, definitely. It feels like it's been a broken record the last few weeks. After such a sort of promising preseason, us over here in Australia, we had the tour. The team came out and we got to see them firsthand, and there was some positive signs in that tour. The comeback against Man United, and I felt like, I think like a lot of us did with Gerrard having a preseason under his belt, that we'd show a bit more progression this season, and then we'd start to see that maybe that Stevie G system come into something, but it just seems to be regressing and going backwards, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think from the offset, I think as soon as the season started, we haven't had a defined playing style. As what is the system? What does Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa look like? And that's something I've been questioning for a while. And I think when you mentioned pre-season, I think looking back, I think results wise, I'd agree. I think results wise, it looks quite good. But I've got to be honest that it's not all about results in pre-season. It's about how you look as a team. It's about how you perform. And I wasn't convinced with a lot of the performances over pre-season. Like you guys says, there was the games in Australia, and obviously you guys saw that firsthand. And so I watched those on TV, and I thought they were okay, but there weren't anything sort of scintillating. And then even when we went to Rennes, which was a week before the season started, and I was in France for that game, and I said to some of the other lads, I said, we don't look ready. We don't look ready for this season, and it did concern me moving into the Bournemouth game. And I think we were all very confident against Bournemouth because obviously in terms of the team they are. I mean, no disrespect to them, but we were expecting to win the game, and then obviously we pull out a result like that. And the thing was, I don't think I was that shocked. So I didn't think we were that prepared for the season. If I'm being honest, I didn't think our recruitment had been strong enough at that point. It still hasn't been strong enough, obviously, because we've done nothing since. And so, yeah, the start of the it's not been great. I'm not that surprised, if I'm being honest, by the start of the season. I think we're very unbalanced, very, very unbalanced. And as I say, I've never been in a position where we've had a manager for 9, 10 months, and I'm still not quite sure what that actually looks like. I'm not sure what the playing style is. I'm not sure what the tactics are. I'm not sure what the system is, and that to me is baffling.
Yeah, and there has been a few rumors that things aren't sweet behind closed doors, and some of the players are getting angry at the manager, and he looks like he's had enough. He's not clapping the fans anymore in the press. He seems to be quite prickly, and it doesn't look good from afar. And like you said about the recruitment and Noah, we've got 1 day left in the transfer window, and there are a few rumors of some players coming in. Is there any that you can see maybe getting over the line?
I mean, I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen, I think Ishmael Assar deal apparently has sprung back up out of nowhere. Apparently might be signing him, which I don't think we really need him, to be perfectly honest. Like, we've got players that play on the right, like Bailey, Buendia, they both play on the right-hand side. So I'd be surprised if it's a deal we got done. I think we definitely need a centre back. I mean, 3 centre backs to January, like that's clearly not enough. It looks like Craig Dawson going to go to Wolves. Maybe Dendoncker. Apparently, we're getting close to that. So, I mean, anyone that can help the squad depth, I'll take at the moment. Hopefully, Conor Gallagher will be the dream.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree. We need a centre back, and maybe a central midfielder too. So yeah, Conor Gallagher would be good. I agree. The Sarr is probably not what we need. We've got plenty of players like him, like Bailey and Ollie Watkins, that can play in those wide positions. So Benderek's the other one that's still, being talked about a little bit. Is there any of those, Simon, that that you'd like to see happen?
I'll be honest, I absolutely hate this day. I hate deadline day. I think it's the worst. For me, it's the worst day in the football calendar. I can't stand the build-up. I can't stand the hype. And I think teams teams who are badly prepared end up going into deadline day scratching around, which is it's really strange actually, because Villa have not been like that for a long time. And I think Christian Perslow, he had a quote and he said that teams who are frantically flying around on deadline day, the teams that are so unprepared in the transfer market. And yet here we are on deadline day, and we are that team this year. I don't like it. I think it sounds like we might get one or two in, but it feels a bit desperation mode at this point, to be honest with you. And I can't even say enough about who will improve us, to be honest with you. I think with Sarr, I think it'd be a good signing. I think the reason why I say that is because we've got rid of all of our sort of width in the team. We got rid of Traore, we got rid of Trezeguet, and we've only got one real winger still in the squad in terms of Bailey, and that's not good enough. And I mean, even if you think about it, say we move Gerrard on in the next few weeks, any manager coming in would usually look at playing a formation which included wingers, which at Villa you couldn't do because we've only got one. And so I don't think Sarr would be a bad one. We need a centre half, but I don't know where that's coming from, because obviously it sounds like Dawson's off to Dawson's off to Wolves. It sounds like Bednarek's going to West Ham now. So I don't know where this centre half's coming from, and so we desperately need a centre half. It sounds like he wants a forward. There's rumours about Lucas Moura as well from Spurs, I think there was. But for me as well, the major gap is in the middle of the park, and I think we signed Kamara, who's a great player, and he started quite well, to be fair to him, but. You've got this conundrum about who else do you play? Do you play McGinn? Do you play McGinn and Ramsey? And none of it feels like it works to me. And so the biggest thing for Villa this summer for me was to get a really good number 8 in, which we haven't done. And I highly doubt we're going to get one in at this very late stage. We might get somebody in, but whether they're going to be any good is another thing. I don't know enough about Dendoncker, if I'm being honest, but the only thing I'd say is if he was that good, would Wolves really be looking to move him on? Who Wolves are only just in and around us in the table anyway, so I'm not convinced.
No, and I was surprised that Douglas Luiz didn't start last night, because he started against West Ham, and I thought, he did quite well considering, it was a poor performance. And then, when he came on last night, he obviously scored the goal from the corner and, had a bit of an impact. And I thought, considering the goals we've been shipping lately, like going back to like a double pivot with him and Kamara with Ramsey or McGinn maybe slightly in front, would have been a lot better than, because I don't think McGinn, he looks lost in that 4-3-3 that Gerrard's playing, where he has to cover the wide areas, and he just keeps going back to those three, it seems.
I don't think the formation's right, if I'm being honest. I think I think we ask too much of our midfielders, and I think we ask too much of our fullbacks, if I'm being honest. I think you look at Cash and Digne, and especially Cash, the way he has to bomb up and down that. I mean, he ends up being our most sort of prominent attacker, Cash, but while he's our right back as well. And so our midfielders get pulled out of position. We leave massive gaps in the midfield. And so while I don't think John McGinn's in great form, I totally agree with you. He hasn't been for a while. I don't think the system suits him. No. I don't think it suits Ramsey either. I agree on the Luiz front. I was surprised he didn't start last night. And he does bring that aura of sort of calm about him, doesn't he? He's able to pass the ball quite well, and he's probably our best passer of the ball, to be honest. And so it did surprise me he wasn't in the team last night. When he came on, we were better. But then worryingly, it sounds like he's pushing for a move away today as well. It sounds like him and his agent are working to get out of the club today, which I think if Villa lost Luiz today, then it's like suicide for Villa to do that. I can't believe that they would do that. I mean, we've got ourselves into a position where he's only got 10 months left on a contract, which isn't ideal, and he can start talking to clubs in January from abroad about moving there, and so it does sound like he's going to be going. But I think if Villa lost him today, I'd be really, really concerned.
Yeah, I mean, there's reports of Arsenal wanting him for 20 million, but I'd rather, just keep him for the rest of the season, make sure he could help us, stay up, and then, let him go on a free than take the 20 million now. I think the other one is Carney Chukwuemeka. Like, looking back now, I know he wanted to leave, but, there's a few games that I feel as if he could have done a better job than maybe some of the guys that are in that midfield. And that decision's starting to look like one that, might not have been the best, but it is hard when, you're struggling down the bottom of the league and all these players, are talking to their agents. There's a World Cup around the corner as well. They want to be playing. They want to be playing for a good team going into that, so they get picked in the World Cup squad. And it's it's really the mood around Villa Park at the moment it just seems so toxic. And I don't really know what to say. I'm lost for words. A bit like you, Noah. Have you got anything to?
I don't really know what to add. Like, I was so excited to get over there, because I'm obviously getting there in a couple of weeks. But it seems like it's gonna be so toxic if Gerrard's still there. And that's something I actually haven't quite experienced, like being there in person. Like, I've seen us, win a couple of games, been in a relegation fight as well, but it wasn't a toxic Villa Park, where it seems like it's starting to really turn now. And I think that's something unique about Villa is Villa fans turn very quickly. It seems like, we turned on Bruce very quickly, Dean Smith, unfortunately, and then here we go with Stevie G again, just going round and roundabouts, and see what happens.
What I would say though is, our expectations, aren't that high. I think we just wanted to see a team where the system worked, the players were improving. And if we had finished 10th or 11th or 12th again this season, I don't think there would have been too many fans that, were disappointed with that. I mean, I'd snap your hand off now for 12th, because I don't think we'll be finishing anywhere near that. I think we'll be in the bottom 6, in the bottom 5, and hopefully not in the bottom 3. It's because the team looks just jaded. It looks short of confidence, and like you said, we're going to try and get some players in on this last transfer deadline day, but it looks like desperation at the moment. But you'll be over there for which games, Noah? You get Leicester game?
Leicester, Southampton, and Leeds. But I'm happy. I'm probably going to. I do get to miss, which I think will be a Man City bloodbath on Saturday night. So
yeah. When you think that Erling Haaland scored 6 more goals than Villa this season, and 6 in 4 days, we could be in for a bit of a horror show.
Due for a rest, I hope. Due for a rest. I'd happily have a rest with him, but it's a weird time to be a Villa fan, that's for sure.
So do you think Gerrard will be in charge by the time you get over there, Noah?
I said, like, when we first started talking about it, I thought he would be, but I think it's so hard. I mean, Scott Parker obviously dug his own grave, talking about the media, because he played massive clubs. Like, he played, was it Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City? But I think these 2 games coming up, I would love to see some fight. Like, I think when we played Man City last year, it was a 2-1 loss, and we played relatively well. Like, that's sort of like, if that was the performance we gave, you see a bit from the team, we're good on the ball, we create a couple of decent chances, I'd be happy. I'd be happy against the Man City. So as long as we can build and then build onto Leicester, Southampton, Leeds, the teams that we should be beating, like with the squad we got on paper, then I'll take it.
Yeah. What about you, Simon? Do you think that how long do you think Gerrard will be manager, or do you think he can turn it around? From your Twitter comments, I don't think so.
I don't think he'll turn it around. If I'm being honest, and this is what I always like to point out. I'm not one who likes to call from managers' heads. I don't do that. I really don't do that, and I won't do that with Gerrard. I won't do it, and it's because I always think what will happen will happen. I'm not in control of what happens in terms of the boardroom and in terms of the managerial changes at Villa Park, but I can't see him turning it around. Like I say, he doesn't know his best 11. He doesn't know his tactics. He doesn't know a system to play. The players don't really look like they know what they're doing on the field either in terms of the system. And then what happens is then they then make mistakes, and that's what you saw last night really in the game. And for me, I said to the other lads, I said, I couldn't fault the players' attitudes last night, the players' efforts. I couldn't fault it. I thought we threw our bodies on the line at times. And Martinez made some great saves, even though he made the 2 errors for the goals. And I had no issue with the players' attitude last night. But the problem is when you don't know the tactics of the system that you're supposed to be playing in, mistakes creep in. How long will he get? I think he'll probably get until the international break, if I'm being honest. I think they probably looked at the Arsenal-Man City games as write-offs, which rightly or wrongly, I don't know. And then I think you'll get the Leicester and Southampton games. But I think the issue for me is that I can't even see us going to Leicester and getting a win, if I'm being honest. I just don't see what we're trying to do. I mean, you look at Villa over the years, and I was talking to somebody last night about when Villa went to Arsenal over the years, back under Paul Lambert, back under Martin O'Neill, back under Alex McLeish even. And it's like we had worse teams back then. And yet you still see what we were trying to do. We were trying to be a team who sort of sat deep and then hit teams on the counter-attack. Which was fine. You know, we understood what we were doing, you know, and okay, we used to lose some games as well, but at least we used to know what we're doing. I watch Villa and I can't work out from the minute we kick off until the minute we finish, I can't work out what we're trying to do. It feels like we're trying to pass the ball to our most skillful and best players on paper and just ask them to do something with it, which is an absolutely crazy tactic. And so I think it goes back to when Gerrard was appointed, if I'm being honest, and I didn't understand, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think the time was right for Dean Smith to go at the time. I think we were in bad form, and I understood why the decision was made, but I never understood why it was such a one-man race at the time for the job. I mean, Gerrard got it to sort of like universal sort of approval, which baffled me again because, okay, he done well at Rangers, but let's be honest, he had one competitor in Scotland, and that was Celtic. I mean, there isn't that sort of competition in Scotland, and I think any of us sitting on here today could probably go manage Rangers to a fair few wins like Gerrard did. And I didn't get it, and I just think for a big club like Villa, we needed someone at the time with that experience. And he hadn't got it. He hadn't got it. And I think what's mad is that how long it took Dean Smith to repair the fractures that were within the club. There was such a disconnect between players, fans, and the club. It took a while to rebuild it, and it feels like within 9 months, it's gone again. And that for me is the biggest worry and the biggest sadness. And I think looking back to the West Ham game last Sunday, I mean, sitting at Villa Park, and this is the first time I felt like this in quite a while. I was bored. I was genuinely bored, and I was sitting there, and that goal went in, and I was very sort of nonplussed about it. And then we were trying to go for the equaliser towards the end of the game, and I was barely leaving my seat because I wasn't bothered. And that as a Villa fan who goes to every single Villa match, that hurts. That does, you know, it genuinely hurts. And so, I hate the club being like this. I genuinely hate it, and there feels like there's such a disconnect between the fans to the manager, and there feels like there's some sort of weird, sort of toxic sort of atmosphere between the board and the sporting director down to the manager for me as well, and how Gerrard's biting back, and his comments about Louise last night was strange, I thought, and then the club have clearly have gone to some of the journalists and said, "Well, that's not true. We're not getting rid of Louise," and it just feels all a bit of a mess at the moment. And so I don't think he'll recover from it. I think he's trying to put his own. I think he's trying to recover his own sort of reputation back at the moment. I think, and you see it quite a lot. I think the media are now sort of rallying around Gerrard and coming out with the thing that the owners haven't given him much money. And the thing that I say, the most worrying aspect of it for me, and Noah had mentioned the Man City game last season and how we battled with that one at home against Man City. We were better before Gerrard made his signings, and that's what when he first came in. We were okay. We weren't great, but we were okay. As soon as we made them signings in January, we've just sort of plummeted. And like I say, tactics have gone out the window, systems have gone out the window, and we're now in a position where I genuinely think that unless something rapidly changes in the next few weeks, I think we're going to be in a relegation battle.
Definitely, I agree with all that. I think that you look at the players he brought in, like Luca Digne and Coutinho. Have they made us better? You know, are they better than what we had when we had, you know, Matt Targett, for instance, who's gone to Newcastle now and, you know, is doing really well? I mean, it's it's bizarre. And I think when you were talking about it's not clear what we're trying to do as a team. We give the ball to Kamara, everything slows down. He's a good player, but it just seems like everything just goes into this like slow motion, and everyone's looking at him. And Coutinho's another one. When he plays, the ball goes to Coutinho, and everyone just sort of sits back and watches and sort of goes, all right, what are we doing now? And there is no cohesiveness in the team at all between, the likes of Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings. When they started against West Ham, they still don't look like they've ever played together. When it's been a long time now. It's been 9 months or over a year that they've been playing together, and they just can't seem to figure it out. And in the midfield, like you said, Jacob Ramsey, who under Dean Smith was absolutely on fire, had a great season. He did all right when Gerrard first came in, but this season he looks a shadow of his previous self. And it's really sad to see, because we know that these guys are better players than they're showing at the moment. I mean, Matty Cash is a good player. John McGinn is a good player. We've seen it. But at the moment, I don't know if John McGinn would get in any other side in the Premier League on current form. No one's looking to sign him like they were sort of 2 years ago, 18 months ago, when we heard rumors of Man United and others interested. That there's none of that coming out now. It's all negative. It's all players either want to get out or, it's Gerrard just, throwing darts at the board and seeing which team he picks and bringing back the same players. It's really confusing, Noah, isn't it?
I mean, obviously we're not like there, obviously, but when we get up, I got up at 4:25 this morning, see the team sheet. Changes. Bailey starts again, but I think he should have started every game. Bailey, like pre-season form, he was doing really, really well. But then just chop and change. I mean, I think this is the first time this season we've had the same two centre back pairing all season, which is, I know Carlos' injury wasn't great for that, but we're just not settled, and it's just real concern that Stevie G doesn't know his best team, and it's been so long. Like, it's just I just don't know what to expect. Like, honestly, like, he could pick a whole bunch of reserves against Man City, and people wouldn't be surprised with Stevie G at the moment, just picking anyone he wants.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that we at least see some sort of change in mentality and philosophy. We're struggling. All right, let's bring in another defensive midfielder. Let's maybe like sit a bit deeper, play on the counter attack. But he seems to want to play this passing style, Simon, and this sort of possession based football, which kind of has gone out of vogue in a way in international and club football. That was a sort of thing, maybe like 5-10 years ago. Now it's all about, pressing, energy, this sort of thing, but we don't seem to have any of that whatsoever.
No, we don't. And as you say, I think he always goes back to the two up top sort of formation. I think that's very outdated as well. And well, as you said, Ings and Watkins look like they've never met each other, let alone played football with each other. And again, I like Danny Ings. I've got no issue with Danny Ings. I think he's a good goal scorer, and he finds himself in, if you get him in position, he'll score for you. He's got a good knack of scoring, but I always feel like he slows things down as well, because he's obviously lost that yard of pace. It feels like every time Danny Ings gets the ball, he has to have 3 or 4 touches before he does anything with it. Like when a younger, faster striker takes 1 or 2 touches, and he takes nearly double that. And and then the midfield is the biggest issue for me. It doesn't work at all. This whole covering fullbacks who are going missing halfway up the pitch. It's crazy to play like that against some of the sides in the Premier League, like against the Arsenals of this league. And Man City will absolutely tear us to shreds if that happens on Saturday. If Matty Cash is down near the Holt End on Saturday evening and Man City come at us, then we've got massive problems, huge problems. And you're right, very outdated tactics. And I mean, we were sold the dream that when he was coming, he was this sort of tactician who can adapt throughout games and change things when he sees them. And we don't see any of that, and it feels like one of us is like on the touchline as the manager. That's what it feels like at the moment. In terms of the midfield, it really baffles me, just because you've got Steven Gerrard and Gary McAllister there, who are two international top footballers, and yet they can't see what's going on, and it's really confusing for me, and that's why it worries me moving forward. I mean, for me, Gerrard needs to take it back to basics. He needs to if he wants to keep his job, he needs to get it back to basics. Like when he first came in, we were playing quite reserved. We weren't great to watch, but we were, getting clean sheets. We were winning games 1-2-0. That's what he needs to get back to. And whether that's obviously that there isn't any longevity in that, there isn't, and you have to work out a style that you want to play moving forward. But for his sake and for the club's sake at the moment, I feel like he needs to do that. He needs to really, even if he plays 2 defensive midfielders and whatever, play 5 at the back, whatever you want to do, you need to start getting some clean sheets and getting some results. Because if he doesn't, he will be sacked. It's no doubt about it. He will be sacked because the owners won't want a relegation battle, which is on the cards at the moment. So yeah, overall, it's not a great time, and I just can't believe we're sitting here 5 games into a season, feeling like we're in the depths of sort of despair, and that it's 1st of September today, and it's normally we're having these conversations in December, January, February, and we're on September the 1st, and it feels like the world's imploding around us in terms of Aston Villa, and yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, from the positivity of pre-season, only a few weeks ago, when we were signing Kamara and Diego Carlos, we were like, we're really on point this year, and I can't believe how it's unravelled. I genuinely can't.
No, and I think the one goal for me that summed up sort of what you were saying about how sort of naive we are in the midfield and defensively with the fullbacks going forward was the equaliser when we played Palace. So we go 1-0 up, and then Zaha scores straight away, and Cash is in no man's land. He's not up the field as an attacking fullback. He's not back in the back line. He's in this sort of half and a half position. We got no presence in the midfield. Kamara's in there by himself. There's no one else around him. And then one touch, bang, Zaha's in, 1-1, and we've blown what was a good start. All the momentum's gone back to Palace, and we end up getting beaten comfortably. I mean, that's the kind of thing like even an under 10s manager would go off at the team for that, and this is, Premier League football. It's he does look like a man out of his depth at the moment. I wonder if you feel like a lot of people do, that maybe Michael Beale was the brains of the operation, and when he left for QPR, the message wasn't getting across to the players anymore.
Possibly. But then I would counter that argument and say that we weren't particularly brilliant after March when Michael Beale was still there as well. But the thing, it's the one argument for me, which it always gets to me actually when we talk about assistant managers. And don't get me wrong, I know an assistant manager is important to the manager. I understand that. But I don't think they should have the influence that we're talking about here. I mean, Steven Gerrard, remember, is the head coach. The clue's in the title. He's the head coach. And so for us to say, it's collapsed because Beale's not there, I find that absolutely ridiculous, because why have we got Steven Gerrard in charge if that's the case? We might as well have Michael Beale in charge if that is the case. Why is it just because he's the name that we got Steven? I'm not bothered about the name. I'm really not. I'm bothered about having somebody who's a tactician who can be our head coach, our manager, whatever. So I get that. I understand a little bit of it. And I think the whole Neil Critchley thing wasn't ideal, how whatever these passport issues were, which I've no idea what they were. And I do watch him in a game, and I find he hardly ever leaves his seat. And there was one little snippet I picked up at Selhurst Park actually before the Palace game, and all the team were warming up, and you had Gary McAllister and Tom Coulthard, the other first team coach, and Austin McPhee, etc., were warming up the players, doing drills and stuff. And Neil Critchley was stood with his arms folded on the pitch, looking up at the screen, the Crystal Palace screen, and they were showing highlights of goals that they'd scored against Villa in recent years. Now, this was only 20-25 minutes before the game, and he was just stood there watching it like that, and it baffled me. I thought, God, you are the assistant head coach, and like it doesn't look like you're partaking whatsoever. Right? It's only a small thing I picked up on, and it might not mean anything, but for a supporter standing there, I was a bit like, wow, I've never seen an assistant manager so disengaged with what's going on. And then you feel it during a game. He very rarely stands up, and he very rarely gets into it, and it just gives supporters that feeling of, does anyone actually care? Is anyone trying to turn the tide here? Because we're sliding and sliding and sliding. This is the club is at the moment, and it's like, is anyone trying to wrestle this club back up? Is anyone trying to change it? And so there might be something with the assistant manager, but I don't know. I think the book still stops with the manager, and he's the head coach of the football club. He's paid an awful lot of money to be the head coach, and at the moment, he isn't delivering. Simple as that.
No, he's not at all. So since Villa on Tour has sort of exploded and done really well, and you've been a big part of that with Max and the other guys as well. I was wondering, like, has your life sort of changed, or your football experience changed? I mean, I'm guessing you get recognized a lot more, and you get a lot of people coming up to you. Have you ever had anyone come up, any sort of negative encounters with fans or anything like that?
Yeah, a little bit, I suppose. I mean, taking it back to the start, really. I mean, for me, meeting. I mean, I met the lads back in Leipzig in pre-season back in 2019, and so just as we'd been promoted, and so for me, like, my life going to the Villa totally changed, because all of a sudden I had this brand new group of friends who I was going to the football with, and we became really, really close, and we speak every single day now, and like that's amazing, and I love it. Home and away, I'm always with the lads, sort of thing, and that's incredible. And then I mean, the positive outweighs the negative. I mean, the volume of people who comes up to you and talks about how they love tuning into the videos, and they love listening to other podcasts that we do, and they love listening to our opinions, and that's great. We have that all the time, which is great. We do have some negative ones as well, and I think some of the negative ones comes when it's people saying, against modern football, against football vlogging, and I always talk to Max about it, and we always say, he's so discreet with his camera, and he's not hurting anybody by doing it. He's not in anybody's face, and I don't understand why people have got this sort of negative attitude. But it is in the minority, and I can't say it isn't. It's in the minority, and it's the sort of thing you have to blank out. I think you see how toxic social media can be, and you see some of the messages and some of the comments you can get, and you have to have a bit of a thick skin. To be fair, at times you do. But you have to just sort of blank that out and ignore it and take the positives with it, because there is a lot of positives. And like I say, the sheer volume of people who say how they love tuning in, and I mean, some guys who are overseas like yourselves, and people who tune in there and say how it's totally changed their sort of experiences. I mean, that makes it all all the more valued, really, and why Max does it. And I think for us, we just love being involved, because we just love sort of showcasing how much fun we have on an away day, even when we are losing 2-1, 3-0 every week, sort of thing. And so for me, it's great, and I love being a part of it. It's great.
No, it is fantastic. I love the videos. I love the passion of you guys. It's always, you're always in good spirits, even if you're getting home at sort of 3 o'clock in the morning from an away day at Bolton or something. You guys are always, it's always good banter and a good laugh, and it's a real good like mix as well of personalities that you guys have. And I know that 99% of the Villa fans love it too, and we can't wait to see the next one for the Arsenal game. It should be great. Noah, are you got any questions for Simon before we wrap up?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I kind of had like a personal thing. Like, I got to film stuff for Max when it was over here, and I kind of enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. So I just think it adds to the atmosphere. Like, obviously we can't be there, so being able to watch the game from a whole 10 point of view, watch highlights, watch the limbs and everything, it just kind of adds a different dimension to match days and everything. But going back to like proper Villa stuff, I idolize Arteta a lot, like the way he talks to players and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure, like, Scott, you probably heard it as well, but the whole like game, you could hear Arteta yelling at his players, demanding more. I don't think I heard Gerrard say anything once. So Simon, like, is he very active in the touch area? Like, is he like very active at all? Because every time I see him on the TV, he's just not doing much.
I think it depends game by game, actually, if I'm being honest. I think I've noticed last night he was standing up a lot more last night. And when we scored, he was actually quite he said he was celebrating the goal, wasn't he? He was quite he was quite into it last night. But then there's been other games when, I mean, I even go back to last season when we went to Newcastle away and we were dismal that afternoon, and he didn't leave his chair all day. And I think it varies game to game. I think it just changes. It's normally him standing there. I mean, under Dean Smith, you were quite used to Dean standing there with Rich O'Kelly, Neil Cutler, John Terry, etc. All of them together, and I always used to feel that you could feel that togetherness with the coach and staff under Dean Smith. These days, not so much. I mean, just another thing that I noticed. I was at the under-21 game last Friday up at Bodymoor Heath, up at the training ground, and so they built like a purpose-built like a little arena there with like a stand there where supporters can sit. And so we were there last Friday, and Neil Cutler comes in and sits sort of in the little staff area, which is just to the side of where the supporters sit, right in the middle behind the dugouts. And he was there on his own. And then a few minutes later, over the other side of the pitch comes Gerrard, McAllister, and I think it was Austin McPhee. And they just totally separate themselves from everybody else, from the supporters, from Neil Cutler, and they stand over the other side of the field and just watch the game from in the middle of just a grassed area, basically. And I said to somebody else, it's really interesting that, because when Dean Smith was the manager, he used to come and sit with the fans, and he used to be talking to the supporters, and he used to be really actively getting involved. And for me, again, it's another thing. I don't, whether it's an ego thing, whether it's he doesn't want to be approached by people. I don't know, but there's 200 fans at Bodymoor Heath. It's not like he's going to be mobbed, and it's just, come on, just look like we're all in it together a little bit. And again, it's a little thing that people would think, oh, why would you make a big thing about that? But it's all these little things that connect a football club to its manager and to its fans, and I just feel like it's missing, and I don't know if he quite gets it. If I'm being honest, I don't know if he quite gets it. I think when you hear him I think the biggest thing for me in his press conferences, we talked about him getting quite, he gets quite edgy and he gets quite snapping back at reporters, and it always feels to me like it's a bit all about him all the time, like it's about Steven Gerrard, the man, the player, and it isn't actually. He's the manager of Aston Villa. It's about Aston Villa. I mean, I remember the one thing. I think it came from a press conference in Australia on pre-season when I think somebody asked him about his relationship with Mile Jedinak, who's obviously the loans manager at the club. And I think it was tongue-in-cheek. It was a bit in jest what he said. And he said something like, oh, yeah, we have a good relationship, but ask him about how he was performing on the field against me, or something like that, he said.
Right.
And I was a bit like, it's a weird comment to make, because we're not talking about you as a player anymore. You're the head coach of this football club, and we're not. Okay, it was probably a joke, and it was probably tongue in cheek, but it was another thing I looked at and I thought, oh, I'm not sure about that comment. But yeah, it just feels just a bit of a disconnect running through the whole club at the moment, and yeah, I just hope we get it back, because there's nothing worse than building yourself up for all these away games and thinking, we're gonna have a great day, which we normally do, but then it just feels that disconnect between the fans. It's just a horrible atmosphere. And the thing is, Noah, you'll probably experience this in a couple of weeks at Leicester. It's such a different atmosphere when the fans are in this zone, and it's not nice, and fans are at each other's throats and for having different opinions, and which happens. It does happen, but we're all on the same side, and I hate this. I absolutely hate it, and I wish it was a different scenario, but it's not, and we've got to try and fight back and try and get back to where we were. Whether that's with Steven Gerrard as manager or somebody else, I'm not too sure.
Well, yeah, the fight back will hopefully start on Sunday. I'm not too confident, but do you want to give us a prediction for Man City, Simon?
Oh, really want it. I can't see anything. I can't see anything other than a 3 or a 4-0, if I'm being honest. I think I said to one of the lads last night, I said, I don't think Haaland should be allowed to play more than 10-15 minutes. I said, it feels like a bit of a cheat code if he does. So I'm not looking forward to it. I can't see us getting anything, no.
No. Noah?
Yeah, I think Forest too actually been playing all right, I think, this season. They got 6 put past them, so they're playing a lot better than us. It could be a bloodbath. I think 5 or 6 potentially as well.
Yeah, I can't see us getting a goal. I can't see us conceding less than 4. So I'll say 5-0 as well. But let's hope not. Let's hope that we can pull out some sort of miracle and get something and get our season back on track. If it's with Gerrard or not, I'm with you. I just want us to see us, improving, going in the right direction, and just showing that, connectivity with the fans that we had when we had Smith and Grealish, and that sort of, we look like we're on the right track again. But like you said, it's been horrible this season, and it only looks like it's going to get worse. But hopefully by the time you get there, Noah, it'll pick up.
You never know. You never know. I'm still looking forward to it though. I mean, it's not every day
Definitely.
you get to follow Villa home and away. So yeah, I'm still buzzing for it.
All right. Well, thanks you all for watching. Thanks. Please like and subscribe. Thanks, Simon, for coming on. It's been a great pleasure to have you on, and you're welcome back anytime. And have a good time on Sunday. I hope it's not too much of a battering. And yeah, everyone, please check out the Villa on Tour. I'm sure you all have seen it already, but if you haven't, please go and check out their videos. They're fantastic. Max and the guys do a great job. And we will see you all for the Man City game up the Villa. See you all later. Cheers.